Just a few things. I think just very grateful to staff as well as the community. Over 200 people in the middle of the afternoon, late into after the workday on a Wednesday is pretty impressive. And I know this is a huge project. It's very important for the entire city and honestly the entire region, one way or the other. And I really appreciate seeing this many people out on both sides, on all the sides, and giving us all this valuable input. So I just want to acknowledge that. And then for staff, this has been, I know this has been a very lengthy and deep analysis. And I will agree that, I spent about 4 years working in the state CEQA office, and this is one of the more thorough CEQA EIRs I've seen. And it's pretty impressive the amount of work that's gone into it. I understand there's still a lot of issues. There's still a lot of things that need to be resolved. There's still a lot of concern. This is a huge change for the city and for that local area in particular. I encourage the community to keep working with everyone, with the city council, with the community groups, with the planners to make sure that the vision of serving the community needs and the greater Oakland needs is really implemented in the next steps of this process as it moves, if it moves forward. Overall, I think that I don't see a reason not to advance this to City Council. I, again, understand all the concerns. I think within the confines and the constraints of CEQA and of the EIR, all of the things that are directly related to that have been addressed. And I think it's ready to move forward with all of the great work that's been done. So I'll just pause there.
Thank you, Commissioner Shirazi. Commissioner Segru.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I really want to commend the amount of effort that has gone into organizing the responses. And I think this is probably one of the best consolidated responses in an EIR I've seen in terms of addressing the mountain of comments that we received initially on the draft environmental impact report. And I think a lot of those comments raised completely fair concerns. And I think I went into reading the FEIR and the responses really with those same concerns. And I think there were several points where I was kind of taken back, like, wow, that is an effective solution. And that does effectively mitigate things. And I think about something around where I had initial concerns around the rail crossing. And I think in looking at what other stadiums have done, especially looking over at San Francisco, increasing traffic patrol in that area, given game time, makes so much sense. And so I know for me, in reading each of the responses, it was a lot easier to digest because of the consolidation that staff did. So I just want to commend them on that. And I'm with Commissioner Shirazi that I would support moving this forward to council.
Thank you, Commissioner Segru. Commissioner Limon.
Yeah, no, I'd like to echo Commissioner Shirazi and Commissioner Segru's comments. I mean, I have the same sentiments, particularly around the organization of the document and the consolidation. That was very, very well done, and it really highlighted the public participation and people's concerns really being heard and addressed. Obviously there are some. It's not perfect but what staff has clearly conveyed is that there's a lot out of the city's purview, and it requires additional agency reviews and approvals. So I think, over time it will get fleshed out. And to Commissioner Shirazi's comment, there's still a lot of opportunities for the public to participate in this process and to continue to play a role in how this is fleshed out. So I just encourage everyone to continue to participate and make this a really good project that works for everyone if it does move forward. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Vice Chair Fern or Commissioner Rank, did you have a quick question?
No, I mean, if Vice Chair wants to go, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Vice Chair Fern, please.
You can go, Commissioner Rank. You can go. That's fine.
I couldn't agree more with my fellow commissioners. And kudos to staff and the entire environmental team. This was a huge, fairly extraordinary undertaking. And I agree with how well it was organized and easily digestible. And again, just I think it for me, this final EIR shows that CEQA does work. Thank you to all the public who commented orally or in writing. I mean, I think that this kind of public engagement is what makes projects like this better. And this document responded, I think, very meaningfully to a lot of the comments that were raised. To Commissioner Lamone's point, CEQA doesn't portend to be perfect. But I think this was a really good effort, that it enhanced mitigation measures. To Pete's point, or maybe the staff report, I mean, it added 300 pages of sort of amplified information that I think is extremely meaningful to those who commented. And so, you know, the sort of enhancement of the analysis, the additions to the mitigation measures, I think should all be recognized here in terms of how this process, I think, has worked. So I would also support moving this forward. And I agree that this is not the end of the conversation. There's a lot more work to do. And the council will have to take up some of the feasibility questions that I think have been raised today. And so they'll have to make sort of different findings and consider the statement of overriding considerations. But for me, I think we meet the certification findings under CEQA. So I'd be ready to move forward. And I'd be happy to make a motion if unless anyone else wants to go.
Just hang in there a minute. Commissioner Rank, Vice Chair Fern, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not going to add too much. I do want to also acknowledge everybody for showing up today, you know, and staying for, you know, what has been almost 4 hours now. And I just want to echo that I think at the end of the day, this will be a better project for it. I also want to, you know, commend, you know, Pete and ESA and staff just on their preparation for this as well, and being prepared to answer, you know, what was a wide ranging amount of questions about this very, very complicated project. And, you know, to the point Commissioner Rank said about, you know, CEQA working, I also think this really shows, you know, the limitations of CEQA. I mean, I think there are valid concerns out there that just simply aren't under the purview of CEQA, that don't make them not valid and don't make them, you know, not worthy of being actually resolved. And I think to that point, you know, there is time for that. I think, you know, even if council were to certify the EIR, I'm not saying they will, it's not going to allow that project to move forward or a shovel to be put into a ground until there is, you know, a lot more input and a lot more, you know, granular analysis about what actually is going to happen out in the field. So I just want to make that, underscore that. I also want to underscore the fact that today, we certainly are not approving the project. I think all the commissioners up here still have questions about what the ultimate project is going to look like and what the ultimate solutions are going to be. And we will, you know, we'll certainly have those discussions at those key times. But I agree with the commissioners in terms of the document itself and it highlighting the actual impacts that will arise as it relates to this project. I think the document has done that successfully, and I too would move to move this forward to council.
Perfect. Thank you, Vice Chair. And I can only say that the comments of my fellow commissioners are obviously right on. A huge thank you to staff. This is a huge undertaking and a lot of effort. And Pete, you are our primary interface, and again, you've done an amazing job keeping your wits about you and basically trying to compile stuff in this document. Yeah, CEQA, I think, you know, commissioners said it's not always a pretty picture here. It analyzes a lot of things. I think, you know, we've all said, and we've heard a lot of testimony today on things that we believe are need to be refined, need to be provided more input. Vice Chair Fern echoed something that I continue to sort of feel is that we do not have a project before us. This commission, in terms of those who have served on it, have been instrumental in helping to find the sweet spot for projects amongst the myriad of conflicts that occur between the community and land use and stuff like that. And we've always tried to think about that. So that will be something that will happen after the council deliberates on this and takes action on the environmental document. So there will be a lot of future conversations as a result of it. So I feel very similar to my fellow commissioners. So with that, Commissioner Rank, can I turn back to you and your suggestions on how we might proceed?
Sure. Based on the whole of the record before us and the testimony that we've heard today, and in accordance with CEQA, I would move that the Planning Commission recommend that the City Council certify the EIR based on the following findings. That the EIR has been completed in compliance with CEQA, the CEQA guidelines, and the city CEQA procedures. We have independently reviewed and considered the record and EIR prior to making this recommendation to certify the EIR. The EIR represents the independent judgment, review, and analysis of the city and the Planning Commission. It provides information to the decision makers and the public on the environmental consequences of the proposed project, and it adequately discusses the potential adverse environmental effects, ways in which such effects might be mitigated, and alternatives to the project which would reduce or avoid the adverse effect.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did I hear a second?
Yeah, Shirazi.
Commissioner Shirazi.
Thank you. Okay, and then the roll would be Commissioner Shirazi,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamone,
Yes.
Commissioner Sugrue,
Yes.
Commissioner Rank,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fern,
Yes.
and Chair Manis.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, and this recommendation will be forwarded to the City Council. Thank you.